Back with the Odes Dominator 800. You guys missed the previous video on this thing. We picked it up for $3,000 and we found out that it needed new bearings. The rod bearings were toast. So we took the engine out a couple videos ago and tore it down until we got to the clutch area. The clutch would not come off, and none of the pullers we tried would take the clutch off. So today we're gonna be working on that, and we're gonna try to get this thing rebuilt and running by the end of the video. So stay tuned. Hopefully we can do it, and we'll see if we run into any major issues here. I've never rebuilt a Odes Dominator 800 engine, so let's see how it goes. This thing has been a pain in my butt. We ended up last video not being able to get the clutch off. We got everything else disassembled. We just need to get the clutch off. So I found out that the threads were actually like pounded on. It looked like the previous owner maybe put a clutch puller in there that wasn't the right size, pounded on them, and they wrecked the threads in here. So we got a tap here. I just tapped out the first like maybe a couple millimeters of threads, and now look what fits in there. Our puller actually twists in. So I had to modify this puller a little bit. I had to cut off the end of it because we shoved a rod in there when we were using the bolt to try to take this thing off, and so there's a rod stuck in there. This goes in about up to here, so it goes in this far. So that's actually hitting the spot where the crank goes, so that should be perfect. So let's see if the clutch pops off here. So happy. Come on. Come on, you stupid thing. Jeez. It's getting deep in there. Oh boy. That has a ton of pressure behind it. That's gonna make it pop when that comes off, if it ever does. Jeez. This is the tool from USA, so the threads are super strong in there. It shouldn't strip out or bend if we keep on going with it. I think she bottomed out right there. That is a no-go. Pop off of here. Oh, man. She does not want to come. Wow. Cannot get this thing to go. Come on. Oh, I break the bolt. Holy cow. Thing's on there. Oh. Did that crack something? I don't know if it was the bolt or what. Oh, yes. There's literally no better feeling in the world right now. Holy cow. Thank you. Oh my gosh. What a process. I went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bolts. Trying to get this thing off. Oh, it's that beautiful sight. The clutch is salvageable. That's the best part. That's so cool. I'm so happy right now. Because the threads in the clutch are still good. So I was getting really tempted to cut this thing off. I'm happy I did not, because that thing is still fine, which is amazing. You can see all the metal shreds coming out of it. I'm trying to tap this thing, and man, oh man. It took me like 2 weeks of just trying to get it off here and there, and finally we got it. So thank you to everyone that left comments and suggestions on how to get this thing off. Also, shout out to the company that makes this bolt right here. Did you guys see how much pressure that thing took and didn't bend at all? Isn't that crazy? Threads didn't strip out and the bolt didn't bend. I have to give credit where credit's due. So this is the company on eBay that made this bolt. Shout out to them. So it was KNS Performance. So, all right, let's continue this rebuild. Hopefully we can get the engine back in the machine day. Cover comes out. Alright, trying to get the starter off. This was like the dumbest design ever. But the bolt is like way down there to get it off. It's like engineer it to where you can get the starter out easily. Because that's the thing that fails the most. I just don't get that. Where some companies just make the starter impossible to get out. Like I almost think you have to take off the the whole cylinder to get the starter off. And the clutch. What a pain. There's a drive shaft in the front here. Let's try to take that off if you can. I got this thing to budge free here. Bearing looks good in there. Needs a new gasket though. So looking in here, you can see the drive shaft goes all the way through to the other side. We just have to get the other side off, then we can pull this whole drive shaft through. There's no way of getting a socket in there. One up here too. I'm guessing there's two on the other side too. Alright, there's one right in there. This is on the other side now. Trying to hold up the engine and do this at the same time. A little difficult. Now the question is, can that nut come all the way off? Alright, that one's off. Does this whole thing move? So this whole thing might be able to come off. I might have to take off one more thing to get the whole thing to slide. So all we had to do is loosen up these three nuts, take those off, and this whole transmission just pulled right off the shaft here. So that's good. That wasn't too bad, so we can set the whole transmission right here off to the side and focus on the engine now. I don't know if I can pull it out through that way. Alright, we were able to pull the shaft out through the original way here, so we got that to budge free. That's what that looks like. So now when we reinstall it later, we can push it through this way, and we won't have to mess with the back of the transmission area, which is kind of nice too. So that wasn't too bad. Let's see the best way to split these cases. Probably take this cover off first. Let's get it. Alright. Oh. So it looks like the gear right here, it's got chomped. Look at that. Completely shredded. Not sure what that was for. Let's see, is that for, oh, so that's for the oil pump. So if that gear was shredded, I don't think, because that one went right here. If that was shredded, that means the oil pump wasn't working, and I think this is the water pump. Yep, the water pump wasn't working. So that's why this thing failed. How dumb, using plastic gears. Look at that thing, just shredded to pieces. That's crazy. And I had a suspicion because this water pump felt really loose. So yeah, that's not hooked up to anything. So it was not cooling the engine at all. This thing comes out right here. Yeah, so the water pump gears look fine. That looks like it's got a little wear on it. Maybe not. Nope. So it's just this gear that was really, really bad. Up here, this little gear just should pull right out. There's a bearing on it too. And that gets pressed up against the case like that. It's an interesting design as well. Check the teeth on here. Pretty good, bearing feels good. Alright, finally got that little piece off of there without breaking it. Cam chain can come off, finally. Right. Now all these bolts can come out for the cover here. That was Loctited on. Guessing that's a filter of some sort. Bunch of oil coming out of there for some reason. Looks like it was just a plate. More. I think that's everything. Oh, there's a couple more in here. Alright, let's check this side. See if everything's off of this side. I think it is. Alright, we have our bearing extracting tool. So this piece goes into the bearing, you tighten this down, it expands in there so that you can pull on it. So now we've got our slide hammer here. You can twist into this end. Hopefully it'll just pull that cover right off for us. That's the plan at least. Let's see what happens here. coming. There we go. That worked. All right, I whacked on this a couple times. It looks like we're spilling oil everywhere. Must not have drained this well enough or something, but the case is split apart here, so let's see. We'll put it on this side over here. Just see if we can lift this up here. Oh, there we go. Yeah, that wasn't so bad. Looks like there's an oil screen right in there. We'll have to check. Here's the water pump gear. That looks good. Here's the crank. It'll pull right out like that. Here is the bad bearing. You can see the play in there. You see the metal coming through the bearing here. Look at that. So, yeah, that's got some play up and down. I believe this one was fine. We'll check out the bearings too. That one feels good. It's a little tight in there though. So. Here are the crank bearings right here. And this is what it needed the press for. So we have to press those out and get some new ones in. And you can see they actually have holes that oil go through right here that need to line up perfectly. So we have to be careful not to cross over that hole when installing those. But yeah, everything looks pretty decent in here. Not too bad. Water pump gear right in here, that one looks good. Alright, let's take a look at the old rod bearings here. If we can get them off. It's pretty stuck on that bearing. No damage to the rod, it doesn't look like. See, oh, look at the bearing though. It's all flattened out in there. See that? Jeez. There should be two separate pieces here. There we go. I think it like formed one big piece here. I think it got welded together. Yeah, it almost got welded together. Look how thin those are. Yeah, so this end you can see got welded. Yeah, that bearing was junk. Let's check out the next one. See what that looks like. I think this thing overheated because of that one gear going out. This one seems to be okay. Let's see. That all looks good. Yeah, see, those bearings are a lot better. There's a little damage right there to it though. So they weren't perfect, but they were a lot thicker too. Look at the thickness. Look how thin that got at that point right there. So these were getting pretty worn down too, but they weren't as bad as the other one. There's a screen behind this cover, so let's get that out, see what that looks like. You can see right here, part of that gear that broke, looks like. A couple metal pieces on this, right there. Most of it's just the gear that broke, that plastic gear. Got ground down. And you can see little pieces in there of gasket material and stuff like that. So we'll definitely clean up this this case here. I wanted to show you guys the tool I got. So here is what goes on the press, and this is a bearing press tool that fits right inside these bearings that you can push out. It was $100. It came with another one as well. So now we can press those bearings out without damaging anything. Yeah, that's all welded. Those are two separate bearings in there, and they're all welded together. All right, let's press up these bearings. So we've got our tool going in. Bearings are out, and here they are. That's supposed to be two separate pieces. It was welded together. All right, next case half going in. Let's see if these bearings pop out of here. Alright, here are the bearings for that one. These weren't as bad as the other ones. Alright, we got the case half all cleaned out, the gasket material taken off of it. So we are ready to install the new bearings, so here they are. We've got two sets of them, one for either side. So there's a hole on one of them. That needs to line up with the hole in the case right here. You can see there's a hole right there, so we have to line it up perfectly so that it fits onto there like that with the hole lining up. So we're going to do a couple markings on it, and we'll see if we can get these things lined up here. Alright, let's try to press these in straight. That's the goal. see how much further down we have to go. Alright, we're right on the money. Just have to go a little bit further down here, and we should be good. That's perfect. So first try, not too bad. You can see that's perfectly lined up right there with the hole in the case, so oil can get to it. So, happy with that. That one turned out perfect. Alright, this is going way too smoothly. So, these bearing sleeves, we got lined up perfectly with that hole again. Like literally perfect. So that was again first try. So that worked out really well. So what we're gonna do now is get the crank installed, get the new gasket on here, and slap these two cases together. All right, we've got the brand new gasket going on. We're gonna put a little bit of the gasket maker on there to help it out a little bit. Let's. This gasket on here. Alright, let's get this other case half on. Got the screen back in there. You can see right there. Everything else is good to go. One more check over. Everything's looking good so far. Then we'll torque these all down to spec. We'll have to look up that spec and see what that is. Alright, we've got our flywheel going on here. Got our cam chain on in the back. Alright, so we're going to start with cylinder 2. That's what it says in the manual to do. Let's get on there. We're using the gaskets that came with the cylinder. Two different sets of gaskets came with it, so I don't know what that's about. We'll get one in there. Alright, we've got that gasket on. Here is cylinder number 2 and piston number 2. So, here are the clips. And the pin. Those are some heavy duty clips. Here are the piston rings. Some big piston rings too. Here's the piston. So apparently the arrow is going to be pointing towards the exhaust on both the pistons. So that's easy enough. So arrow points towards the exhaust. which is the transmission side, so pointing this way. So we're gonna install it like that. First, let's check the piston rings just to make sure the clearance is okay on them. I'm guessing they're fine because they're brand new, but you never know. And you can see that's gonna be perfect. Right in there. We'll quick measure it just for fun. Looks like 12 thousandths to me. Possibly a little bit more. A little bit more, maybe 14. Little bit more. 15. Yep, that one can't go in. So between 14 and 15 thousandths on the second ring on the first piston. Let's see what the first ring's at. Same thing, looks really good. Let's quick check. Guessing it's gonna be 15. Again, that one barely fits in, so it's like really 14 thousandths. Yep, 14. All right, so we're gonna install the rings onto the piston, making sure that we stagger the ring gap, and we'll come back and install the piston and the cylinder onto cylinder number 2. All right, so for the piston, you can see the top ring is the silver color, second ring is black. And with these rings, there is a number on the top here. Let's see if I can find it. See, that one has a DY on it right there. And the black one is just a D. But those are going to be pointing up on the piston. And then we want to stagger the rings. So one ring over here, one ring over here. And the 2 oil rings need to be separated as well. So arrow pointing towards the exhaust. Let's install it. We'll get this cylinder on. Alright, we got the first cylinder done. You can see arrows pointing towards exhaust. Let's start working on the second one here. Alright, let's get our gasket on here. Gonna use a little bit of the sealer. We have our pins in already. Here is cylinder number 2. I forgot to mention before, this came in a kit. It was like $550, I think, for the whole kit. Both cylinders, both pistons, and the crank and everything. So you can imagine the quality of that. But it was the only kit available for this thing. Got the rings here. Do a quick measurement for the rings. Let's just see what we're at. First ring going in. Oh yeah, that's gonna be good. You see the ring gap right there. I'm guessing that's the same as the other one, which is gonna be good. So probably 15 or 14 thousandths. Guessing 14, it looks pretty small. Yep, 14 just slides in. And then the bigger one. Ring number 2. We are at, again, 14. So rings look good. We're gonna install all the rings onto the piston. and then we'll get her all situated here. Now to get this piston on, you can see the rod is way down in here. The piston for number 2 has to go all the way down so we can get this to come all the way up. So we have to rotate this engine. Arrow is pointing towards the back of the engine. Right now this is the front of it. This goes in the front of the machine. Towards the back is the transmission, so both pistons are pointing towards the transmission. So, get that installed. It's always fun. Alright, so I think I was a little too optimistic with getting this thing completely done today. And we can't anyway because this gear right here, I was not expecting to be chewed up and completely wrecked. So it looks like we're going to try to buy a different gear for this. We might buy a Can-Am version, which I think is aluminum and not this plastic. We might buy that instead. I haven't decided, depends on if I can find them or not. But we need a new gear, we need new gaskets, 5-shaft gaskets, so we need those gaskets, so we'll have to order those up. And then the heads down here, both look really good, but they're gonna need valve seals. So we gotta finish up valve seals as well, which shouldn't be too bad. They don't look too bad to do. But there's 4 on each, so we've got 8 of them to do, which is a lot of work. And it's getting dark out already, so I've worked now almost 12 hours on this thing, and this is all we got done. I'm trying to take my time because I've never rebuilt one of these before and make sure everything's perfect, because I don't want to take it back out of the frame once it's in there. So I think it'll be worth taking my time, going through everything, cleaning it out really nice. And that way we won't have any issues at all with this thing. But yeah, unfortunately we're going to end the video there. I wanted to get further along with this thing and actually back into the frame and do the first start, but that'll have to be next video. Hopefully you guys aren't too disappointed. But I'm just happy we got the clutch off and we didn't damage it. It was a pain in the butt to do, but it was worth taking the extra time and getting it off without damaging it, because these clutches are like, I think they're $375 just for the primary and like another $300 for the secondary, so they're not cheap. So I'm getting excited to get this thing finally done. It will be back in the frame and running next video for sure. So stay tuned for next one, guys. Thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and until next time, we are out.